computer. And there we go. Hello, everybody. Hey, how are you, Marian?
Hi there. Hi there.
Yeah, Marian and I are continuing our work on our Poems and Dragons and Friends with Poems and Dragons and Friends, and we're continuing to enjoy it. We've been chatting a little bit beforehand, and Marian brought up an excellent point that this book just feels good. This work, this collaboration just feels good. Each of us doing our own thing and coming together to just create something that we hope will help you feel good. And we would like to continue talking today about the process and talk about the next poem that we were working on.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to say?
Uh,
Yeah.
as I watch Judge Judy as much as I can, and I'd love it. She says, is not an answer. The one that you just sent me, like several of them, have very literal, some words in it. I like the one that we're going to talk about today, for example, has words like stars, immediate myriad stars. I'm looking for the literal. I try to pull out the literal implications that the dragons might say, oh, that's a star, or a pinprick of light or something like that. And you can't draw a pinprick of light. You just can't do it. So over time, what I do is I print out the poem. I take it to bed with me. I read it. I lay it down and I read it again. And over time, it says the dragons feel the sense of the poem. And to be able to replicate the feeling is not a literal thing, a feeling, how do you do that? And how do the dragons do that? Now, the dragons are 4 years old and they pick up feelings.
Yes.
And it's not with words. The feelings are not with words. The feelings are implication of how you represent a feeling. That's where we're coming from. That's where the dragons are coming from. You
Absolutely.
see some things behind me when you see my page. See, there's a bunch of dragons out there that are having a good day. See, some of them are upside down. They're twirled around. You feel something. So the whole point of the dragon characters entering the situation is to find that way. And these are 4-year-old kids. They're not this 4-year-old kids are not literal. So that takes 2 or 3 days of seeing what's up. I don't know, I'm mumbling.
No, what you're talking about is basically the same process that I go through with using the words, because I have to think what physical, literal images do I say to help convey the feeling that I want people to feel when they read it. And so, while, like you talked about in the poem that we're doing now, we were speaking before about their dogs barking and traffic and people doing things and stuff. And you said, but that's not the point of the poem. No, but I have to try to grab the things that help make the feeling, because that's what lyric poetry is about. It's about feeling and messages and stuff. And the dragons are doing the same thing. Well, we're just in. I think that's why I think it's just working so beautiful. This collaboration is so beautiful.
Yeah. So
I think about this. I know that most people won't be familiar with this, but I'll mention it anyway because it was part of my life. Walt Whitman, who was, in my estimation, the greatest American poet, Walt Whitman said that his work, when he wrote his poetry, the great volume, Leaves of Grass, that his work was only half done when he wrote anything, that the rest of the work was up to the reader. the reader had to make sense of it. What he intended just was a starting point for the reader. And then
Mhm.
it's like, what does the reader get from reading
Mhm.
it? What sense does the reader make of it? The reader has to look at it and feel into it and think into it and make sense of it. So,
Mhm.
so our work, according to Walt Whitman, is only half the job. The other half is when you all who are listening, uh, when you all buy our finished book, whenever we get there, we're going to see when we get there, but whenever we get there, when you buy the work and you read it and make sense of it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, they could be just be leaping upside down and twirling themselves around in circles or something as they and singing because they just feel good.
Absolutely. And that's what my neighbor said in responding to the Facebook post that we did for last week's video. Um, he said, "Hey, this would be you and Marian need to work and get it to parents to read the poems to their children to help instill a love of poetry in their children and the poems with the amazing drawings do that. They like just draw you in. And I can see you moms and dads out there, grandparents, grandma and grandpas, um, reading this book to your children or grandchildren and having the little ones getting excited about it and just dancing with the
Yeah.
dragons, dancing with the dragons.
How do
And
we do that? How do we get those
yeah,
kids to see this?
yeah, and that's a mom and dad or a grandma and grandpa thing in a way. Read it, sit them on their lap, zoom it. I know with my grandchildren, I have my oldest granddaughter lives in LA, in the Los Angeles region. And she, 2 summers ago, she was like, Grandpa, I want to do, I want to get into creative writing. I've always had these ideas and I write things. And Dad said that you taught creative writing. And I was like, yeah. And so we Zoomed for all summer, like
Mhm.
8 or 10 weeks, 8 or 10 sessions. We Zoomed and we shared stories back and forth in email, and then we would talk about them on Zoom and talk about how to do it. So that's one way. If grandparents are separated from children, that's one way to you can work with your kids. And once you both have the book, uh, when we get the
Yeah.
book finished, Marian, when we finish it,
Yeah, well, we'll figure it out. We'll
we
figure it out.
will. It will unfold. And quite honestly, I'm very pleased at our progress, at our pace. I mean, so yeah, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. Uh,
Good.
maybe we can let's share the poem for this week,
Okay.
and we can talk about the way this might work out with parents and grandparents.
Hmm. Hmm.
Let me do the share screen. Let me find the poem. Here it is. And there it is. You see that?
Oh, you know what? I just I just noticed something.
What's that?
The stars. There is it the star on the bottom,
Okay.
dragon sitting on there.
I see the dragon sitting on there.
I just
Right.
noticed that.
Let me do this. Oops. I always do that. Let me do this.
Now that's this particular individual dragon that's sitting. This dragon character is in every single
Right. The red one.
picture, every single drawing we do.
Yes. So there's a beige one kind of
Oh, there are other ones there too. Oh, I
oh
see
yeah,
that. I just noticed
the
that.
green ones. Hey, they came from you.
Yeah,
Let's,
yeah,
let me
that's pretty cool.
let me do this back out. And I want to do this over. There we go. And there's a dragon right here. Can you see my cursor thing?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Mhm.
There's the green, there's another green dragon there. Here's another um
That
I
one's
don't know what you
upside
call that
down.
beige one. It's kind of a burnt sienna beige. Uh,
Mhm.
uh yeah. And that's That's the dragon. That's these dragons. Let's see. There's a red one up there again.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
It's upside down too.
And that's the way we want, that's the way I imagine, at least, like parents or grandparents reading the poems to children, and being able to, I'm sorry, being able to talk to them about it, but then having the kids get so excited that they want to hang off of a star and use their creative imagination to hang off a star.
Exactly. Everyone can illustrate their own writing.
Absolutely.
So that's something to be seriously encouraged.
The other thing that we talked about beforehand, by the way, those of you listening, Marian has, I know I've mentioned it before, she's done many other books, and she was sharing with me that one of the books that she feels best about, that is maybe her favorite book right now, is a book about water lilies. And I thought it was just so beautiful, Marian, the way you described it, that it just has a good feeling to it.
Right. So there are 22 water lily pictures, and the picture fills the entire page of every page. And they're wonderful pictures, just so happens. They're gorgeous, and the feeling is they're safe. There's no downside to it. The colors are good. Just look at it and say, oh, so when you have 24 pages or 20, I think they're 24 pages, and you flip from page to page, it's all good. And over time, you set this is my story. You have the book, and yeah, you got to pay a little bit for the book, but you have the book, and let's say you have it and you get it and you take it home, or you are home, and you're busy with other things, and you have to go to the grocery store, and you have the book, and you just put it somewhere that's on the table, let's say. And you come back, and there it's still sitting on the table, but what happens is it leaves an atmosphere of, it just feel good. So the water lilies are feeling good around the room. I think it changes the feeling in the room. And so they're sitting on the table, and somebody comes along, one of the kids come along, or the dog comes along and wags his tail, and suddenly the book is on the floor. And somebody else doesn't notice it, and it gets sort of pushed under the couch. It goes somewhere, it doesn't always sit on the table. And even when it's under the couch, the feeling of the images still permeates the room.
Absolutely.
In a good way.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And what you're describing is so funny, because I know what you say about me, that I have big words, and that I'm kind of, that I don't describe things exactly the same way. But what you're describing is basically quantum mechanics. It's the idea that there's this entanglement, that the energy carries over no matter where it is. When we project energy, the energy carries over, it permeates and connects with everything else around it. That's exactly what you're describing, and in a very wonderful, simple, beautiful way. And by the way, for those of you, Marian is holding a book for me. I haven't gotten my copy of Water Lilies yet, but I need to get my copy of Water Lilies. And if you look Marian up on Facebook, and this video will be posted there, you can contact Marian and say, hey, I want a copy too. Because they really are beautiful. I saw she did with her water lilies what she and I are doing now with the poems. She posted Facebook shots of the water lilies, and she sold quite a few books. And because they're very beautiful, good feeling, high energy photographs. Yeah.
What I wanted to do with this particular project was to hand deliver. I mean, you can get it on Amazon, but that's not the point. The point is that it's a congenial idea. So I ordered some books myself. And then when we meet for a cup of coffee, because we just want to chat, and that's fun fun for me, and it's fun. It seems to be fun. And eventually, and you get the book. I get my $25. Big deal. It's going to pay my life insurance bill, right? Or whatever. But it all is it just feels good is the only word. So if I
positive.
like you and I want you to have this feeling, I'm probably going to say, I like you and you should have this, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's not about selling the book. Selling the book is like, okay, that's wonderful.
I love what you just said, though, that I like you and I think you should have this.
That's what happened to my insurance agent.
Yes.
I liked him from the last time I saw him, and I told him, I said, I like you, and I want you to have this book because I know the reasons why, because of what we just talked about. And he said, okay.
Yes. I mean, how many of us have sold anything that we have created to our insurance agent? I think that's a
and we
wonderful
decided all of the bills, that if I have a bill, I don't have that many bills, like Amarin UE or something. I want to meet you and pay you in person, and you should have the book. But that's my plan.
What was I going to say? Oh, if you're in the St. Louis area, if you're watching our video here and you're in the St. Louis area and you respond to it on Facebook or on YouTube, I will share it with Marian. She can meet you and you can have a very lovely conversation with her because she's fun to talk to. And you can get your own water lily book signed by Marian. So, yes.
Right. This is not a what do you call it? Promotion for selling the book.
Absolutely. We hadn't planned on this. We don't plan these ahead of time. We do say, I usually say, hey, this is the poem we're going to look at. And we've kind of gone in order so far. Right. So this just evolved and this is great because it carries the essence of what we're doing, the way we feel about this book too. Mm-hmm. The way Marian feels about the Water Lily book is the way we're both feeling about this book. It's good feeling. It has a good feel to it. It feels right. It feels good. So, Are we ready to read this?
Ready.
Okay, here we go. Do you see what I see? Brilliantly burning, densely packed masses of gas transmit electromagnetic waves of energy traversing vast reaches of non-atmosphere, vacuum, space. Beauty, dreams, romance, love, hope, celestial patterns, guides of destiny, all this evoked by these myriad stars. Well, at least they tell us myriad, astronomers, scientists, Here in 21st century mid-America suburb, though, if I wished, I could count all those pinpricks of light that I can observe, the rest not visible through artificial haze of our own design. Okay. So that was the poem. Now, I love the way this was the first time we did, Marian and the Dragons did a wraparound around the poem, and it worked out beautifully. I love the way the stars are there and the dragons imagining and playing amongst the stars.
Yeah, pretty nice.
Valuing the stars.
How did I make all those stars?
How did you make all those stars? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of stars there.
I think I counted them one time. I think they're like 30 something stars, 32 or 33 stars. I had something like that. I think I actually counted them at one point. Yeah. Like that's a lot of stars. So
I guess I say to you all who are listening, the bottom line is I believe in my work and I believe in the poems. I like it. I believe in it. I like it. It works. You have stuff you're doing. And if I were there, I would say, I like it and I believe in it. It doesn't matter if what matters is that you have confidence in your work.
Yes.
That's it.
And Marian has helped me personally with that, having confidence in my own work.
You know, who is to say, again, I say this, who says that your work is good? Who?
If not you, yeah.
Or somebody, you know, we have comments all the time. I mean, generally when you're out with people, that's brilliant. That's does that, and you can say, well, I'm not sure really if it is or not. Like, I don't really know. So, so my position is yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's
Yes.
what I have to say about that.
Yes. Well, and I think that's true. And that's part of one of the poems that we haven't gotten to yet here, but you know, no matter what you're doing, you might be an auto mechanic, you might be a salesperson, a jeweler, a teacher, whatever. You can feel the same way about your work. You don't
Yeah.
question it, you have confidence in it. And yes.
So that's when we get on the place where we can interchange with people live, you know, and there's a conversation when we get to being able to do that.
Yes.
So anyway.
Well, now here's what I actually thought about this when I was going over the poem and looking through the whole list of poems that we're working on and stuff. I thought, you know, I can imagine, do you know, you could have a young child, if you're a parent or a grandparent, on reading this poem to them. They're not going to get the deeper stuff, but maybe they'll just fall in love with looking at the stars, and you can point out about the celestial patterns, the and the constellations that are there, and fall in love with, like the dragons did with the stars, and just play among the stars in their own mind, in the mind of the child. If you have a little older children and they're studying about astronomy in school, you have things like, what are stars made of? Well, there they are. They're densely packed masses of gas, and they transmit electromagnetic waves. And you can talk about that some. What's space? Oh, it's vacuum. That's there. And there's all these stars, and you can talk about the size of the galaxy, the billions upon billions of stars that there are, not only in our galaxy, but in other galaxies. I mean, we think of our galaxy and we're a peanut, we're a speck of dust, but that's okay. We're great specks of dust. And then you could share with older children about those kinds of things. And then for you, moms and dads or grandparents, you get to think maybe about how what we do as adults affect the children and the grandchildren and the great grandchildren and down the line, if we continue creating haze that obscures the beauty of the stars. So, and that's what the last bit of that gets. So I can see all the levels of, I can imagine in my mind, I can imagine that going on. And again, that's why the drawings, the dragons, just are so magnificent. They just pick up that energy. What here, and Marian, I know I interpret things because I can't help it. I'm like Walt Whitman. I always try to make meaning because I was an English teacher for a long time, and you always have to come up with, what does this mean? And I look at the drawing here, and I think the thing that would keep us from polluting so much would be if we all fell in love with the stars, just like the dragons. If we loved it that much, we wouldn't do things to interfere with seeing that, and we'd find other ways. So that's the way I took the drawing. I love it. Yeah.
So interpreting what you said, the whole thing can go into several different tangents. You start out with a thing and it wanders off into many different tangents. We could do this, or we could say that, or it could be that, it could be that. And then your imagination and your curiosity wakes up.
Yes.
Hey, do stars really look yellow? Are there really dragons sitting on a star? I don't see them when I look outside, you know, why not? So
absolutely,
waking up the curiosity and allowing
yes,
allowing the curiosity to show up. And if somebody shouldn't be able to say to you, "Why you didn't waste time talking about that," right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I love that aspect that I didn't mention. Awakening curiosity. Wow. How
Mhm.
powerful is that?
Yes, it gets squashed. So I want you guys to know I'm currently 86. That's really old. And the curiosity is somehow still there. So
Yeah.
that's where the dragons show up.
I
So
hope that everybody listening will remember that. The curiosity is still there. That's the way to enjoy it. Enjoy all of this.
mhm.
Absolutely. Hey, does anybody out there, or Marian, I didn't even ask you this. Did the title, did you make any connections with the title? And now with the stars there, it even helps more.
Yeah. Of course, the title is literal.
Yes.
Do you
When
see
I
what I?
wrote it, and it may be too obscure, when I wrote it, I was thinking of the Christmas Carol. Do you see what I see?
Oh, I see.
A star. Uh, what is it? Blazing in the night, shining in the night. That will
Mhm.
give us goodness and light.
See what I see.
Yep,
Right.
that's it. Yeah. So that's where the title came from, and it just fit with what was coming out. Yes.
So the perennial question is when let's say we're having a Zoom meeting or we're sitting around saying, and somebody says, "Where do you get your ideas?" It's a famous question, right?
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Sure. I get them from the same place that you, Marion, get your dragons and drawings from my creative imagination. But there is a thing, I have a mindset. If I want to write poetry, I have to go out and have all my senses attuned to what's there right in front of me. The best poems to me are usually the ones that are just using a very common thing and looking at it, picking it up in my mind and looking at it from different ways, turning it in my mind and seeing it and describing what I see. So the sensory images, which is why I have so many, like you were talking about, like the literal things that I write about are they have to be all described in a way that evoke the feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the mindset of a poet is one of the things I do sometimes if I feel like I want to write poetry, I'll go outside. I usually have to go outside. I love to be outside, and I will just write down sensory images of what I hear, what I smell, what I see, what I the feel of the wind on my arms, watching the leaves falling, and I've got poems about all those kinds of things, and so what does that say to me about then? What do those common things that I'm looking at and attuned to say about life, about my life, about life on this planet, about other people's lives, about what's going on in society? Because I think nature does that. I think nature speaks to the condition of humanity. Of course, I can't help it. Romantic poets and the romantic period of literature was my favorite one. And that's what the romantics believed, is that we find patterns, mirrors, and guidance for life from nature, that nature shows us that way. And so anyway, that's what I do. I have to have the mindset. I wrote an article, I don't know where it is even right now, but about the mindset of a poet. If you want to be a poet, anybody can be a poet. If you want to be a poet, you just get out, or even inside, start looking and get the sense of exactly what you were talking about earlier. What is the energy of that common object? How do I describe it? Maybe it is in a way that is, it's called synesthesia, in a way that I'm looking over at right now at a basket of corks that are just their kind of decorative things. How do those corks feel? What do they smell like? I can say what they look like, but how do they say? Do they have a sound? What kind of sound do they have? So I think about these kinds of things, and sometimes they just come to me. Sometimes I japped. I think I showed you last week the journal that I had. I have dozens upon dozens of, I probably have maybe closer to like 100 or more journals that I filled with these kinds of ideas. And so, and writing just about common things every day. It's not always thinking about, I'm going to make that into a poem. But you see, just the fact that I said about a cork, I wouldn't be surprised if I don't end up writing a poem about a cork at some point here, because I'm thinking about it. So it's a matter of just like the mindset. I want to write something. I'm feeling something maybe in my life that I need to express some way. And I want to do it in a poem. If I want to do it in a poem, then what do I see around me that I can use to express that and evoke these feelings? Whether the reader gets it or not, that's their job. My job is to express myself.
And you know this because why?
I know this because it's been my experience. I know this because of what my heart tells me, what my soul tells me. That I'm at this point. Now, I've written poems that I don't think the dragons would like to play with too much.
Really?
Well, maybe
Really?
they would. But like I think I mentioned before to you, I don't know if I did it here, talking to our guests here. I wrote a poem about the Deepwell Horizon oil spill back in 2011. In 2011, I think it was, 2010, 2011. And it's about a 4-page poem, 3.5 pages poem. And it's basically about, and as I saw outside of Pensacola, Florida, in the Gulf of Mexico, I saw the effects. I saw, birds that were covered with oil,
Yeah.
and fish and dolphins coming, and I was just thought the kind of thing, the process that what are they thinking? What are they going through? How do they feel? And so I have them talking to him. I have the moon looking down because the moon affects the water, the tides, the waves and stuff. I have the moon looking down and saying, who did this? And the water, the tide, the waves saying, we didn't do it. And the moon, and so these different species and things are interacting. They're taking on I'm anthropomorphizing. They're taking on human characteristics, and they're speaking back and forth to one another. And in the end, the question that is left is, who did this? And
yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah,
Would be
they wouldn't know what to say. But then it gets to the point. What do 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old children say when they see something like that? Because they interact with it. Many did down there, had to down there. So yeah, I look and I think, what do I care about? What do I see? How do I feel about it? What's the best form? And sometimes I write articles. What's the best form for me to do it? I love poetry though. That's very definite. And the poetry should help us to feel a certain way. And I always want my readers to feel like, at the very least, I want them to feel questioning, curiosity aroused, like you talked about. The most, I want them to feel positive and like, this makes me feel good. This makes me feel better about myself, about society. This gives me hope. This gives me a way to deal with whatever it is that I'm reading or feeling or experiencing in my life. So
I have a question. So some people see this and say, why are you wasting your time with this? Like that, with that kind of a face and that kind of an expression. Why are you wasting your time doing that? Anybody ever say that to you?
No, they might add something to that. They might not say why you're wasting your time, but why are you doing this and you're not making any money from it?
So why are you doing it?
And that equates to waste of time to some people. And my response to that is always, how you think something is valuable is not the same way I think something is valuable.
And that's okay.
Absolutely.
That's the whole my whole message. That's okay. Do it, do it, do it, do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That was great. What you just said, all that stuff, that was very interesting.
I hope it made people feel a certain way, because that's what it's about. Yeah. So that's our poem. I just imagine now, if you're watching this, what it would be like to have this in a nicely printed book, and to have this right in front of you and be able to run your fingers along the pages or over the stars and the dragons, and how what more you could absorb from it and get from it. And that's what we feel, Marian and I feel so great about, that we want you to feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want you to have the opportunity to
Yes.
put it on your table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, anything else for today, Marian?
I don't think so.
I think that we've covered this. I think we talked about some great things in terms of the process. You talked about your process. I talked about my process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really great. And we will be back, hopefully. We're planning on it, trying to do once a week. So we'll be back next week. Interact. Again, it will be posted on Facebook. It will be posted on, the video will be on YouTube and shared on Facebook. And I even usually share it on Twitter, which it's not one of my favorite platforms. I know lots of people use it, but it's not one of my favorite platforms. But I share it there.
Mm-hmm.
So if any of you want to interact, and Marian and I will see it, and we will respond and be engaged, because it might just be being engaged with yourself and not just us. And that's really important.
Look forward to chatting with you if that opportunity shows up.
Absolutely. Well, for now, we will say goodbye. See you next
Bye.
time, and hope you have a very wonderful, wonderful day. I'm going to stop that share, and we will say goodbye. Bye now.
See you next time.